Here you go.
Hello. Hi. Hi, Danny.
That's down. You want down? You just turn it way down.
Oops.
That's all we have.
Hey, Bill. Hey.
Too many dogs.
What's happening?
We just got a new Mac, so I'm
Hitting the wrong buttons. Hang on, good
figuring out how
There you
to
go.
do
That's turning
it.
it down.
Trying to see everyone. And do you guys all have your videos off?
Yep.
Oh.
I guess everyone has their video off.
Oh. Hi.
Man, this light is
Too
like,
much? What if
Okay.
Off because I don't want you to look at me.
I don't want you to look at me.
that's fine. I was letting you guys off. And there's Louise. Who is Too Many Dogs?
Sorry.
Okay, too many dogs.
Heck.
I take it you have a large kennel in your house.
Call.
Where's Louise? I don't see you, Louise. Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Whoa. There's Louise.
Hey, Louise.
It's Louise.
Oh. Oh.
Bye.
We're just waiting a little bit because technically it's not even started yet. But I thought I'd get on here a little bit early.
Sure.
Hi, Gail. Better than trying to do it on my phone. Crazy. Because before I couldn't like type in the chat or anything, and
Now you're on your computer.
yeah, we got a new Mac, and it's really
Okay.
nice. Now I can just see so much more.
Go Preds.
I know. Exactly.
Yeah. You want my tea? How to like control everybody's stuff as administrator?
Yeah, like here's mute all,
Yeah.
unmute all.
Mm-hmm. It's
Cool.
not a touch screen. So.
All right. Well, it is technically noon now, so I'm gonna go ahead and start. And as people come in,
There we go.
thank you guys for being here for this. Make sure that on the Facebook thing, people know that the link is in there, because some people that signed up didn't give me their email.
So
The
let them
event.
know on the face on the cultivated view.
On the event thing.
Oh, on the event. We go there.
I mean, I already posted it on there, but just. All right. Well. Like flipping
You're so
in circles.
fidgety.
Okay, so I'm gonna mute you guys and go ahead and start. Okay. Cool. So welcome. For the most part today, I'm just going to allow Angel-Geschichte to talk about this subject. I feel that they're going to enter into a different area of this subject. So that's going to be interesting. And just let them do it, right? So, there's Mark. Hi, Mark.
Yeah, muted Mark.
Hello.
Good to see you.
You're not going to see me because I'm not turning on my video.
Good to hear you.
Thank you. There's a reason for that.
Oh, yeah.
Put some clothes on, Mark.
No, I just fucking kissed the ground with my face. Yeah. Karma came at me in the form of a 10-year-old boy on his bike doing, I don't know what kind of a speed, and he slapped into me and it fucking fell straight on face onto the ground. So yeah, I'm looking beautiful right now.
Are you bloody?
I'm bloody and I'm broken and I'm feeling great. Maybe it's the adrenaline, I don't know.
You're funny.
Yeah, you know how things are, like, could be worse.
It always could be worse, right?
Yeah.
Or at least usually.
Yeah.
Channel already.
All right. So close your eyes and receive the energy of the song. Om Say Safanata. Om Say Safanata. Ooh, ooh, hey. Save come second. Save come second. Ooh, save me. Ooh, for say, Satan come second, hey, for no take, hey, for no take, come for take. He come for take. Come for take. He come for take. Hey, for no take, hey, for no take. For sun Tien kenu Nyam fortiate, Nyam fortiate, Hum for Son Tien kenu. Good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are. Good to feel all of you, considering we can't see most of you, except for Louise. Hello, Louise.
And Bill.
Hello, Bill. Hello, Mark. Hello, Gail. Hello, Christine. Hello, Danny. Hello, awesome 2017.
And hello, too many dogs.
Hello, too many dogs, and hello, phone number. So we're going to continue speaking about the art of loving your life because it does intelligently include everything possible, considering that your life is everything you know. And have you ever thought about that? That everything you know is about your life. When you really take that in and consider it, it's rather limiting, isn't it, in your comprehension? Because the way that most of you are thinking most of the time is not to insult you, but beyond your acceptance of your actual knowledge. Do you understand what we're saying? What we're saying is that most of the time you don't accept that your knowledge comes from your life. This one, not other ones, this one. Because even when you guys speak about past lives, you're still coming at it through the perspective and the experience of it through this life. Have you guys thought about that? It's interesting, isn't it? Isn't that interesting, Keith?
It is.
So we want to talk to you a little bit about how you can nurture this life, your life, in order to expand your knowledge, in order to expand your understanding. Because ultimately, nurturing this life is loving this life. And we notice that most humans are not really thinking about their lives in terms of loving their life. They're thinking of, can we have that pillow to stand on? This floor is very hard. Most people are thinking in terms of how can I control my life? Even if they're not realizing that that's the standpoint, that that's the platform that they're coming from. And a lot of disharmony occurs from the standpoint of, I'm going to control my life now. And most of the time, the resistance that you experience is coming from this area of needing to control something. And so in the last webinar we talked a lot about the ability to surrender, the ability to have more trust in your life in order to surrender, the ability to communicate with your life as though it was its own being that you were meant to respect and interact with. And for those of you that were on the last webinar, have you been exercising the prayer that we gave you? What about you, Louise? Have you?
They're all muted.
Yeah, good. You, Bill? What about you?
No, I have not. I'm sorry. I've been busy doing a whole bunch of other stuff that you guys have produced. So I'm not neglecting my self-development, but that little prayer, no, I have not been doing anything with.
That's okay. We know that some people are practicing this prayer, and it is helping them already. And perhaps even one of them is on this call. But it is helpful, and one of the reasons that it's so helpful is that it gets you in a more cooperative place in your relationship to your life. And what happens when you're in a more cooperative place to the momentum of your life, when you are not trying to fight that momentum or control that momentum, is that you are able to expand and absorb more knowledge. And this is important, isn't it? Because ultimately, one of the issues with humanity's general evolution is the inability to absorb knowledge on a deep level. And why does that occur? It occurs because there is the important function of your ego, which is here to protect your experience so that you actually have one. And when too much pressure is put on that function, that egoic function, it has a backlash kind of effect. Okay? And when you have that backlash kind of effect, you have the resistance, you have the closing off, you have the inability to absorb. And really, the way that you guys are created, you have the innate ability to really combine with the momentum of your life and train your egoic self to move out of the way, so to speak, in order to absorb more understanding and more knowledge in regard to everything that's going on here. And it is always going to be generally through the perspective of your life, because that is the whole point of existing as a human. However, when you are able to be in this type of place of absorption, you have this very special ability to observe in a way that you didn't before. And great understanding and speedy knowledge, we'll say, occurs when you're able to be in the place of observation. Okay, is this all making sense to you guys? So what we want to do is really...
Geschichte, I can't see you on our screen. Are you? Do other people see you?
Please if you'll scroll through your screens, you'll probably see them.
Okay, thanks.
So we want to teach you guys just some more methods of becoming more aligned and accepting of the momentum of your life, okay? And one of the first things we want to talk about is the ability to have patience. One of the main things that closes you guys off is your impatience. You're impatient with yourselves, you're impatient with others, and you're impatient with the general flow of your life. The hilarious part about that is that the impatience is what's causing the hiccups, so to speak, or the slowing of the momentum. And what you're usually in resistance to is about the momentum itself. Because each of you are energetic beings, you're not meant to move slowly. You're meant to move through this life with a certain type of speediness, a certain type of ability to let things go easily and move forward. And you aren't taught, for the most part, how to do that from the time you're little, because that aspect of you isn't nurtured. Because you're taught by parents who are trying to control their lives, and they're trying to control you. And it teaches you guys to get real sluggish with your own momentum. It teaches you to try to control the momentum, and this slows everything down. And it's in the slowing down of the whole thing that you guys become angry with your lives. Because you start to perceive that your life is somehow working against you. There is some force that is opposing your great wishes. That's actually not true. It's not actually the case. But the way that we've just explained it, hopefully, helps you understand why that occurs, why that perspective starts to occur in your life. Is this making sense to you guys, the ones of you that we can see? Is it making sense to you?
Mhm.
And what occurs when you learn to be patient, when you make the decision, I'm going to practice patience. I'm going to start putting patience at the top of my list of personal values. Then you automatically begin to speed things up because you're then taking the pressure off of it, taking the pressure off of your own life. You're taking the pressure off of your egoic self to control your life. And because your egoic self is basically like a teenager, it really never matures past that stage. It can be taught to be harmonious, but as far as the level of maturity that it has, it doesn't really go past that. Okay? It just becomes more grafted. A mature egoic self is more grafted with the spiritual self. You understand?
Yes.
And so that's what you're going for. You're going for this grafting. And what you want is to really start to be able to feel your way around how this mesh occurs. And one of the ways that this mesh can occur is by practicing patience with yourself. Practicing patience with the unfolding of things in your life. So that your general attitude toward your life is not one of, hurry up, let's get it done. Come on, I want to be rich already. Come on, I want to be well already. Because have you ever talked to somebody in that way? And when you have, how do they respond? We'll air some of Angel's mail, as always, because she gets this attitude with Keith. And he will just tune her out and start to ignore her. And she'll say, why are you ignoring me? And he'll say, because you're talking to me. How do you say it?
Like I'm your subordinate or your employee.
You're talking to me like I'm your subordinate. And what does it do? It slows up the function. Whatever it is that she's wanting to happen is going to take longer because then he's gone into a state of resistance. Why? Because he feels disrespected. And in general, you've got to think about your life in this way, or anything that you want for that matter. Anything that you want for that matter. If you really want it, you will figure out a way to respect it. Mark says, I have that with my wife too. Yes, females are good at this. So, do you guys have any questions on this? They can unmute themselves.
Oh, that's true. Oh, I'm sorry.
This is exactly what I needed to hear, says Crystal. Good, very good. And we don't talk about patience that often, but it's really important. And you guys, it's such, there's so much in your world, in your human experience that is, what do you guys call it, oxymoron? Where it's exactly what you want, you need to do the opposite. So if you want something to be speedy, if you want it to occur quickly, you need to be more patient with it. And Danny, very timely. Good. If you want your kids to listen to you, you need to develop patience with them. You need to develop an allowance with them. Okay? And this is for anyone in your life, and this is for your life itself as well. The other component that we want to speak about in regard to loving your life is to start considering that your physical health, because those who are interested in studying with us are usually quite spiritual. And something has happened in your world right now where to be spiritual is somehow to abandon the physical existence, which is complete nonsense. It's absolute bullshit. And in fact, if you really want to have the full experience of humanity, the joyful experience of being human, you must consider that your physical existence is a highly important part of that. Because without your physical existence, you're not human. You're like us, you're air. Okay? So you've got to start thinking about your physical health in a way that is nurturing, patient, non-controlling. Okay? And you've got to start thinking in a way that's much different than your society speaks of your physical health. Your society in general is very unhealthy in this regard because it's more about how you look than it is about how strong and how healthy you are. And we completely disagree with this way of existence. And it causes a lot more issues and a lot more heartache and suffering. The way to create true, positive, joy, healthy body experience is to come from the angle of I am nurturing my physical health. I am loving my physical health. I am being patient with my physical health. I'm being patient with my physical body. With I look. Most of you want to look different in some area. You all have that in common. And many of you will try to force that into existence. Even in this day and time, you have plastic surgery, which forces a different way of looking into existence. It's a very traumatic way to look different. And you have extreme dieting, extreme exercise, none of which are really nurturing your physical self. And therefore, when you're starving your physical self in that way, or you're disrespecting your physical self in that way, you cannot help but affect your emotional self, your psychological self, and your spiritual self, because they're all connected. This existence is the connection of all of them. So you cannot starve one part of it and have it not affect the rest. Okay? And the main thing that is not discussed regarding your physical health is the idea of life force, which is absolutely ridiculous because without the life force that animates your body, you're dead. There is no diet. There is no special air. There is no special drink that's going to raise you from the dead once your heart stops beating. However, there is a magical life force that can raise you from the dead, and it has happened to many. Those who have these death experiences where they're dead for a few minutes and they come back, it was not because they were given a special food. And so we want you to start considering, what is it that makes up this magical energy which animates me? How is it that I have this type of energy, and how do I nurture it? Because there are different ways of nurturing it. And of course, this energy is fed by things like food and drink and air and sunlight. But there's also more mystical components that are achieved through different ways of being within your emotional self, your thought self. and your spiritual self. And there is a practice that we make all of our students engage in order to study with us, because it is so superb at bringing in this essential life force and strengthening your physical bodies. And since it strengthens your physical body, it also strengthens your spiritual self, your emotional self, your psychological self. And it's called Pangu Shangang. We have scoured your planet for longer than you guys have record of humanity existing. And this is the best practice for drawing life force into your body, which can help you start to achieve these heightened levels of human existence. And it's important to start thinking about life in this way. It's important to think about exercise in this way. That the most important thing you can do for your body is cultivate, increase, and what is the word? Conserve the essential energy that creates your body at sublime functioning. Okay? And we can't go into a ton of description about this today, but we can say that this practice, this Pangu Shangang, is the best we've seen. It's a very easy Qigong form, and it will increase your health more than you can imagine if you will practice it. Have you found this to be true, Louise?
Sure. I've been studying with you for almost 3 years now, and I started with a recommended like one Qigong form a day, maybe 15 minutes. But now, because you've taught us how to be energetic, intuitive healers, I practice 1.5 hours a day, and it's dramatic how those of us in our class, we're no longer sick. We can take on the pain of other people. As soon as I begin doing the Qigong form, I can feel the energy moving within my body. It feels like vibrations or electrical energy. So it's been phenomenal.
Fantastic. So these are some basic concepts about how to better love your life. Be patient with it. Be patient with yourself within it. Consider physical health from a different standpoint. Consider that physical health comes from you being willing to nurture your physical self. And yes, diet and exercise are a very important part of that. But they also are not to be controlled. Do you guys understand this? Is it making sense to you? We really just can't see any of you, so we hope that it is. Does it make sense to you, Keith?
Absolutely.
Hello, Katrina. So this is the healthy flow of life. When you are able to combine with the momentum of your life, holding this type of mindset, a patient mindset, an accepting mindset, a cooperative mindset. And when you start to really understand that that which you have basically known as yourself is in fact your egoic self, your egoic perspective, which is not to be murdered, it is to be appreciated. And it is to be nurtured the same way that you would nurture a teenager. Where do you find this type of Qigong? Just Angel teaches it, and so does Keith. So you can learn from her. It is to be in a constant state of a certain type of allowing. And we don't mean to be lazy. We're not saying it's time to be lazy. We're not saying to not push forth into the things that you're wanting. That's actually the opposite of what we're saying. We are saying to push forth into the things that you want, but to push forth with a different attitude. To understand what it is that you're wanting, and to really start to feel the nuance that's occurring between what you want and what you have, and the space in between. And to really start to ask yourself, what type of attitude am I giving this space between? Am I being patient with the space between? Am I engaging my imagination in a way which is helping everything that I really want to come forth? Or am I engaging my imagination in a way that is creating more fear about what I want not coming about? And to consider that these type of mindsets and these type of emotions are being received by your life itself. And as your life is receiving this input from you in your egoic perspective, it is responding to that. And the chug-a-lug that you will feel in your life is that response. It's your life saying back to you, there's some things that need cleaned up here for us to be harmoniously moving. Okay? And it's important to be able to feel where you are in those areas. And we're going to air Angel's Mail again to give you an example of this. She got a new phone. She went through that awful divorce, and the person that she was with was very controlling and had control over her phone and all of that the whole time that she was married. And it was very difficult for her to get away from that, to create even a phone line that was hers. So having her own phone line, her own phone, was very symbolic of her freedom and her independence. Which is, at that point in time, it was a very important move forward. But now here she is, she's with Keith. They've been together for 5 years. He's very trustworthy. He's not controlling. And they have the opportunity to combine phone lines and save $150 a month as a household. But these things started happening to where it seemed like there was a block on her ability to have this phone. And her first response to that was, oh, I'm not supposed to do that. I'm supposed to be keeping my own phone line. Because the universe is basically saying to me, this isn't going to work out for you. And we had a little chat with her. We said, you're dead wrong. That's not actually what the feedback means. You are interpreting this feedback through your own fear. You're trying to validate your first response, which is coming from the trauma that you experienced. But in fact, what's occurring is that resistance itself to moving forward is speaking to you. And it's trying to get your attention about something that you are having difficulty moving into, which is the combining of life within your perspective with Keith. Your trauma is leading you into more separation. It is not, in fact, signs from the universe telling you to not combine. It's signs from your own egoic perspective that you are not in alignment with the momentum that's flowing, and that there's something within you that needs some adjusting, so that you're not getting in the way of something beautiful occurring. And we notice that this happens a lot with you guys in your road to physical wellness. Okay? And we want you to just really take that story in and start to apply it to different areas of your life. And consider that perhaps your interpretation of signs that you've received is off. Perhaps your interpretation is still coming from that place within you that is afraid of moving forward in some way, into what you want. Okay? We have heard many people talk about self-sabotage and often are not able to explain it quite correctly. But this is in fact self-sabotage. This is how you really step all over your own joy. You misinterpret your signs. You don't, in fact, push yourselves into new areas of life because you are being lazy within your interpretation. Okay? This is a deep concept. It takes practice. It takes you really becoming more attuned to the subtlety of the way things feel to you. For example, often when someone hears about us or they come into contact with Angel and they can feel this big energy, they have a fear response, especially if they've grown up religious and being told that spirituality should feel meek, essentially. And so immediately they will run off of that immediate response where they felt some type of power that they couldn't explain. And they probably wouldn't even explain it as power. But that is in fact what they're responding to. And so they will interpret it as a sign that they're not meant to study with us or hear what we have to say or hear what she has to say. When in fact, that's not what's occurring. What's occurring is that egoic programming communicating back to the fear. You're right. You shouldn't go here. And it keeps the cycle moving, which keeps that person in the same place. And so even if that person perhaps is asking for greater clarity, which is what we're kings with, clarity, and that one session with us could achieve that clarity they're wanting, they will avoid it like the plague because of what we just explained, thereby sabotaging their own movement forward. So to really create a loving relationship with your life is to create a very patient and loving relationship with your ability to interpret the signs you're given. And to really start to ask yourself, from where am I coming within this interpretation? If my response was really quick, then I need to look at that. Because a quick response doesn't always mean that it's the best response. Often the quick response is coming from your trauma states, from your ingrained patterns of belief that you've created through experience through your life. And in fact, this is your egoic self doing its best to protect you. Because it is only a program that's running. It doesn't have greater knowledge. But that part of you, which is connected to us and connected to all that exists, has this greater knowledge and has a more vast ability to compare and contrast, and also isn't afraid, which is one of the reasons why you actually need your egoic self, because the part of you that is connected to everything, the part of you that is eternal, does not have fear. Why would it? If part of you is eternal and there's no chance of you being snuffed out, what do you have to be afraid of? You see? But while you're here in these physical bodies, you actually need a program running which teaches you about that which can end your physical existence. Otherwise, you guys would all die out as little kids. You see? You understand? And we want you to understand that this grafting process that we're talking about will take patience on your behalf, because it's so much nuance of different feelings that you have to become accustomed to feeling within yourself and accustomed to deciphering. Because in general, you guys are not masters of this. And even those who say that they're very spiritual and they're very in tune with different frequencies and blah, blah, all the things that we hear, ultimately, like we said, are coming from their own life experience. And when we say they're coming from their own life experience, we're saying they're coming from their own egoic perspective of their life experience. They're not coming from the observational standpoint. And what we're trying to kind of train your mindset into today is the more observational mindset, the more observational point of perspective. Okay? And that to really have love for your life, to truly love your life, you will train yourself as much as possible into this more observational standpoint, because it is in fact what will create the most happiness for you. Okay? So we would like to open it up for questions. Do you guys have any questions?
I do have a question regarding, you were mentioning controlling, I guess, two things, but specifically you were talking about like controlling your diet, controlling, even though that's an important part of maintaining our physical health and wellness. What do you mean by not controlling your diet?
We mean don't be so rigid with it. Don't be so judgmental of it. We mean get more in tune with your body and what makes your body feel good. What foods make your body feel good. Base it less on what your society says about a food or how skinny you are, and more on how you feel. Base it more on what makes you feel good about yourself, what makes you feel stronger. That's really important, because even those with eating disorders can really fool themselves in this area, because when there is an eating disorder, then the feel good comes from the dysfunction often, from the, not the overeating side, but the undereating side. And what we're saying is to put more focus on being able to detect the health of your body and to base your intake of food on that. Does this make sense to you? instead of trying to force yourself into some type of body type or some type of food belief system. There's a lot of that going on right now too. And to be easier about it, to understand that food is part of what creates energy in your body to sustain your physical health. So become in tune with that which sustains your physical health. And then you don't need to control anything. If you're in tune with what sustains your physical health and you're on board with that, then are you going to need to control it? No. Does this make sense to you, Bill?
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Eileen, can you talk about imagination and how to use it to create? Example, I was an actress and now I'm writing, and sometimes I feel like I become the character and get scared. I'm creating confusion in my ego and my identity. How do I write and not become the character? That's a neat question. Imagination, how to use it to create. Well, it is interesting, isn't it, Eileen? Because you all are such creative beings that when you start to engage your imagination with anything, you start to become it, don't you? And that's really the genius of the human experience. And as long as you can really know that, then you can basically create an offset, which is when I'm writing to create a story. And the point of that is to understand the story. So I do understand that I will be feeling the character, because in order to write about a character, I need to feel the character, yes. But I also will be able to return to myself. So we would say if you are having issues with that, the first thing we would write is some type of anchor story about who you are and who you want to be. And after you've gone into large description of another character, we would center into our anchor story. We would read our anchor story out loud to ourselves in order to pull you back into your existence, so that you're not overdoing it in the creating character existence. Does this make sense to you? Cool. Good. But it's wonderful to be imaginative in that way and to explore different characters, different emotions, different ways of being. This is one of the ways for you all to gain access to a more observant mindset, a more deepened state of understanding. And to always consider that who you are is ultimately your choice. And everything that you do in your life, everything that you do with intention in your life, is moving you toward who you are becoming. And to keep an eye on that. And to really kind of map it out for yourself. This is who I want to become. What does it take to become this? This is who I want to be. What does it mean to be this? What does it feel like to be this? Okay. When I step in, when others are putting in danger, others through their actions, and despite give them several chances and kindly made them aware of, how Should one make sure to not bring up more of the bad by naming the problem? Well, what we can feel that you're speaking of, Daniela, is obsession. And it is important to realize when you've become obsessive about something, because you all have this tendency to get caught on a loop, so to speak. And then you're addicted to the loop. And that's what we consider to be obsession. And so when you notice that you're stuck on a loop and it's not changing, in fact, you're seeing more and more of it, it means that you've got to find a way to start directing your attention and your interest in another direction. And that's got to mean more to you than anything else. Because there is always things going on this planet that you're going to disagree with, and you're not always going to be able to stop them. You're not always going to be in the position to control it. So it is very important to realize when the momentum of something that's occurring is stronger than you. And if the momentum of something that's occurring is stronger than you, then you need to exit it. And this is true across the board, and we'll use Angel as an example. Her child and her ex-husband, she doesn't agree with what's going on there and wanted to stop it at all costs. But there was already a momentum going there that must play out, and it was stronger than her. And the only choice she had was to exit that dynamic. Because when you do not exit a dynamic like that, a dynamic which is stronger than you, which has kind of a life of its own, you just get pulled into it, and it weakens you and eventually destroys you. That's what obsessions do. So you have to find a way to acknowledge when you're being obsessive and accept that probably you are right. It doesn't need to be occurring. But that doesn't mean that it's going to stop occurring. It doesn't mean that you have the power to stop it. And you've got to be able to know when you have the power to stop or change something and when you don't. And when you have acknowledged that you do not have that power, it is time to step away from it. Otherwise, it will destroy you. The strongest energy wins. Period. That doesn't always mean that the good energy wins. Okay. Thank you for doing this live webinar. I was thinking about connecting with Keith and Angel this morning, and this link popped up. Perfect. Wonderful. We're happy that you're here, Crystal. Okay, so this has been a wonderful chat about the art of loving your life, we feel. A lot of what we have spoken of is regarding awareness. Have you realized that? We have talked to you in different ways about how to have greater awareness in order to extend more honest emotion toward your life, and in order to be more in tune with what you have to contribute to your life. Because when you are aware of what you're offering, you can either create more of it if you like it, or you can change it if you don't like it. But without awareness, you don't have that ability at all. So it's crucial. We've also discussed with you how past trauma creates self-sabotage. Yes. And in fact, creates a certain type of denial. And the magic of denial is you don't know you're in it. But we have spoken to you about how to become more aware when that type of dynamic is occurring. And we did create a program that can take you from this state of denial to a state of confidence, which is ultimately what we're speaking of when we're speaking of how you can interact with your life in a way that is truly loving toward it. And when you are in that dynamic with your life, you have wonderful things happening for you. Some of you are already taking part in this program that we created, How is it working for you? Do you like it, Louise?
Yeah, listening to the meditation now every day and starting to journal. Even though I've been through, I don't have as much to clear out now as I did years ago, but there are still smaller aspects that I'm working on.
Very good. But we would encourage you, for any of you that are not interacting with this program, to consider it. And Angel will put it on sale today for the next 24 hours. And you can have it at the cost of $37, which is extraordinarily cheap for all the coaching that we give you in it, and all of the energy that we give you in it. The other component is we would like you guys to consider, if you do not know the Pangu Shingon, consider learning it. It will increase the healthiness of your life in every single area. And on that note, we thank you so much for being here, and we will allow Angel back in now. Hey guys, thank you all for being here. For those of you that do not have the program, I'm going to type it in here if you want to get it. It's called From Broken to Triumphant. I'm doing it right now too. It's really awesome. Hi, Mark. Mark is also a channeler. So he knows what it's like to be here and be gone for a while and be back. Although I'm not really completely gone. I can still hear everything that's going on. I just don't have any power regarding the input, as you can tell by the way that Geschichte will air my mail. I've gotten used to it. Jenny, yes, Jenny. And if you will go to cultivatedyou.com and just enter in your email, then I will have your email and I can send it to you. Okay. Thanks guys for being on the call.
Thank you, Angel.
Thanks, Bill. And if you guys, actually the best link is cultivatedyou.com/free webinar. Sorry, I'm a little spacey after our channel. That's the link actually that is, if I collect your email at that link, then I can send you the recording, because otherwise I can't be sending the recording out to everyone, you know, unless it's just like one big email. Otherwise I'll spend so much time doing that. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Thanks, Bill.
Leek, sorry, what was Geschichte talking about? You mentioned a program, I'm going to murder the name here, but Pompadero or something. I don't know what it was. Something about increasing your energy and your health and.
Pangu Shingon. Yeah, that's the Qigong form. Pangu. I'm typing it in. Pangu Shingon. So that's the Qigong form that I teach. And it has changed my life. In fact, I've healed a lot of things with that Qigong form. When I first started practicing it, I had lumps in my breast. I was extremely afraid I was about to have cancer, and according to thermology charts, it looked like I was on my way to that. I healed insomnia with it, which was a problem my whole life long. I've healed multiple illnesses, including kidney infection, along with the people that have done Geschichte's healing form helped me heal the kidney infection too, Louise, in fact. And I've healed a lot of different emotional states that I couldn't get out of with that Qigong form. It's just, it's pretty amazing. Yeah, you've looked at that? Cool, cool. Yeah, I recommend it 100%. Changed my life. And also, you know, when I first started channeling, I could barely sit up. There was so much energy. It was extremely painful. After I channeled, I couldn't talk to anyone. Like, I could not do what I'm doing right now and talk to you guys. And it was disorienting and just really quite awful. And I started practicing the Qigong, and probably within a month or two, I was having a totally different experience. I was a lot more lively. It didn't hurt the same way. I was able to talk with people afterwards. So it really increased Geschichte's ability to use my energy to help the people that they were speaking to. So a lot more transformation comes from being able to use that type of energy that you cultivate. Is the Pangu Shingon on your site? No, it's not on my site, but I'll type in the Pangu website. But you can learn from me. Both Keith and I are instructors. So is Louise, so is Bill. Like Geschichte said, all of their students have to practice it. And anyone who actually hasn't practiced the Qigong while studying with Geschichte drops out. And it's because they literally can't handle the energy that's constantly occurring. And it's pretty amazing. You live in LA, it's okay. I can teach you via just like this. It's a very easy Qigong form. Crazy how easy it is. Yeah. And yes, the program is 37. I actually need to go online right now and give you guys and put it on sale. So just give me 1 second to do that, Crystal, and you can get it for the $37. I'm going to let that run for 24 hours, and I'm going to put it back up to the 97. So just give me a few minutes, okay? All right, guys. I really appreciate you guys all being here.
Thank you.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Angelique.
You're welcome, Mark.